Let's tell you more what's been going on in terms of a story that actually is one of the most popular stories online today and has been trending all night since it's been revealed, which is that Justin Bieber has revealed that he's living with Lyme's disease. On his Instagram page, the artist wrote that people had suggested he looked like he was on meth, but actually he'd been recently diagnosed with Lyme disease, which he said had an effect on his skin, brain function, energy and overall health. So what exactly is this disease? Here to explain what it is and the impact it can have, Dr. John Lambert, Professor of Medicine and Infectious Diseases at Mater Hospitals and the Schools of Medicine, University College, Dublin. How do you define this disease?
Okay, so Lyme is a bacterial infection that you get from a tick bite. So it's a bacteria that a tick carries in its saliva, bites you, and then that bacteria spreads throughout your body from your brain to your muscles to your nerves to your joints.
And in the impact that it can have, is it uniform across people, or how does it affect people?
Well, I think everybody's a little bit different. You see, most people don't remember getting a tick bite. The tick is the size of a sesame seed. Half the people don't remember getting a rash. So you might just get a flu, following being in your back garden or being traveling or being out in the country. And you might not remember a tick bite. If you catch it early, it's probably fairly easy to treat, but lots of people are being missed and they're coming up years and years later, and those are the really difficult ones, the ones with chronic persistent infection.
Can it be treated?
Absolutely. Bacterial infections, Lyme is a bacteria. Bacteria are treated with antibiotics, but you have to know that they have the infection, you have to know the right antibiotics, and you need to know the right duration of antibiotic treatment, and that knowledge is extremely lacking in the UK and Ireland and actually most of the world.
So if you do get it treated, can you be cured?
Absolutely, yeah. It's curable, 100% curable if you diagnose it and treat it.
If you don't get it treated straight away, do you then have to live with it?
No, you can still treat it, but it's just much more difficult to treat. You see, the guidelines just say that it's an easy to diagnose, easy to treat, but actually it's not easy to diagnose and easy to treat. And people are offered short courses of antibiotics in the UK, 2 weeks or 3 weeks. But actually, if it's a longer course, there's lots of evidence that you need longer courses of treatment, and people do get better and do get cured with longer treatment, but the guidelines don't support that in the UK and Ireland.
Thank you very much, Dr. John Lambert. Let's bring in Zara Taylor, who's been living with Lyme disease since 2015. Zara, what happened to you?
Well, I was a cross-country runner, and one day I was running and I just completely fell over. And then from there onwards, I started to get flu-like symptoms, cognitive problems, really bad fatigue, and it just changed my life.
And it's affected you so much that you now have to use a wheelchair, is that right?
Yes, that is correct. I use a wheelchair on my really bad days, but on other days I can use a stick.
And your prognosis then, what's the latest from your doctors?
Well, it's now gone into made me have immune dysfunction. So it's affecting vitamin deficiencies, it's affecting my bowel, it's affecting my autoimmune system as well. So now it's gone on to a multi-systematic illness.
It sounds incredibly difficult.
It is difficult, very difficult, from going to being happy, bubbly person, socialising all the time, being able to do exercise, to other days not being able to even get out of bed or even lift my head off the pillow and having to have a carer.
It sounds so debilitating. I know this may sound slightly odd, but does it help in any way when high-profile people do say that they've got it too?
Yes, it does, but then in another way it doesn't, because then it gets into the media and then you have people that start trolling them and saying you haven't really got this illness, it's because you're a drug addict, etc. And then it comes back at us because they can afford to have the private treatment, whereas us on the NHS, we have to be governed by the doctors. So our treatment is completely different to what probably Justin Bieber will be getting.
Do you have days... I know this is a major thing, wheelchair aside, it's not a major thing it's not a small thing, to put to one side, but do you have days where you feel well in yourself?
I have some days where I get up and I think, oh, I feel a little bit better. And then all of a sudden I just feel like I've been hit by a bus and the fatigue takes over and then the symptoms escalate again. Like one day I'll wake up and I'll have such a bad headache, I can't even get out of bed. Whereas the next day it will affect my joints, or the next day it will affect my bowel. It's very hit and miss. You don't know what each day is going to bring.
Let's just bring in Dr. Lambert again, who's been listening to that. I mean, you made it sound not straightforward. It's difficult to diagnose. That's the really hard thing you say there with this. But when you hear how Zara's day-to-day life is, have you got any advice?
Well, unfortunately, in the public hospital system all over the world, patients are offered 3 weeks of treatment. They're then told there's nothing wrong with you, or this is post-treatment disease, and you just have to live with it. But there's lots of private clinics all over the world that have kind of a new approach. This is not just an infection. This is a damaged immune system. This is a body that's inflamed. And actually, a lot of the treatments in the private sector are focusing on longer-term treatments with antibiotics, repairing the immune system, managing the inflammation. And a lot of patients do recover with these alternative approaches. But there's been no research, no studies, no education, no work done in this area, because basically they just say patients like Zara are, you have to live with it. There's nothing wrong with you. Get over it. Work harder. And that's not changed in the UK. In America, it's changed. They're now putting money into research. They're now acknowledging it's a bigger problem. One of the congresswomen in America got sick with Lyme and actually died, or it was actually a tick-borne infection. She got neurological disease. And now the government's beginning to show an interest, just like Justin Bieber has kind of been a person that the American Congress is now recognizing that tick-borne infections are significant because one of their members got sick and died. So the solution is actually new thinking on this disease. The patients are not making up their illness. The patients are right. The NHS, the public health system, have to support them and give better solutions, better research and better treatment than we're currently offering in the public system.
I mean, Public Health England have told this programme that they carry out Lyme awareness raising each year, working with local stakeholders to ensure that people are tick aware and know the signs and symptoms of Lyme. And that the staff of Public Health England regularly talk on Lyme in general professional meetings across the UK. And I mean, it sounds like there's work being done to raise awareness, not just with the public, but also within the medical community. Zara, what did you know about this disease before you were diagnosed?
Absolutely nothing. I had no awareness of it at all. It was only when I noticed that I had a rash on the inside of my arm that the GP diagnosed with ringworm that I then looked it up on the internet, and that's when alarm bells rang and I thought, this isn't right. I need to get help.
We wish you the best of luck with that. Dr. John Lambert, can I just ask you a quick question?
I'd actually just like to make one more comment.
Yes?
That the training for GPs in the UK and Ireland is an abomination. There is no training, and there has been a recent pilot for training of GPs that was just dropped by the UK College of GPs. A bunch of GPs took their own funding, got some funding to train some GPs. That training has been dropped. We need to actually not say we're teaching everybody all over the country. Public Health England need to put their money behind their mouths, and they're not doing that at the present time.
Well, they will have heard you loud and clear. Very quickly,
Yes.
Someone's just asked, I've got literally 30 seconds. Is it possible to ask the doctor, a friend has symptoms of chronic fatigue and brain fog about 3 months after a shingles infection. All tests for usual problems have come back normal. Could he have picked up Lyme disease?
Yes.
It's possible because Lyme affects the immune system, yes. And shingles can reactivate in the setting of a weakened immune system, so absolutely.
So how do you have the test?
There are Lyme tests available. And then finally, ticks carry not just Borrelia, the Lyme bacteria, they carry other bacteria besides that. So people are being infected with multiple different things from a tick bite, not just Lyme.
So should they go to their GP and ask for a Lyme disease test?
I think they should. Okay.
We will, we've just passed it on. Thank you very much to both of you, and very best of luck with it, Zara. Sorry to hear how difficult it has been. Coming up, we'll take more of your messages with regards to the royal family and your own.